Okay, good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everybody. So, and the next chapter 2, we will be dealing with energy head, and energy equation. So, we're done with chapter 1, which basically deals with flow rates and the law of continuity of flow. We will be needing some concepts from chapter 1, those concepts from chapter 1 in this chapter 2, which deals with energy head, and energy equations. So since we are dealing with fluids or liquids in motion, one of the fundamental concepts, okay, one of the fundamental requirements for a body to be in motion is, of course, energy. Okay, we cannot be in motion unless we have energy, you know. So for you to be to do work, it requires energy. For somebody to be in motion, it requires energy to be in motion. So the basic or the elementary definition of energy is it is the ability to do work. So energy is defined as the ability to do work, and energy is required for anything, any particle, or any body to be in motion. Now, in analysis of moving or flowing fluids or liquids, there are three forms of energy which must be considered in connection with flow of fluids. Number one would be kinetic energy. Second is elevation energy, and the third would be pressure energy. Other forms of energy such as heat and electrical energy have little or negligible bearing on the laws governing flowing liquids. Although in flow of gases, thermodynamic effects will be considered, but we will not be dealing with flow of gases in this particular subject, but we will be focusing more on the flow of liquids, especially water. So we will be dealing, so in the formulation of the energy equation, we will be dealing with three different types of energies: kinetic, elevation, and pressure energy. Okay, so kinetic energy. So what is kinetic energy? Kinetic energy is the ability of a mass to do work by virtue of its velocity. So kinetic energy, let's say Ke na lang, is equal to 1/2 mv squared. M is the mass of the body or particle, and v would be the velocity of the particle. Now, to simplify our analysis, we are going now to convert these three types of forms of energy into its equivalent head, or we call that the energy head. So that the resulting unit would be in linear quantity, such as in feet, meters, or in any linear quantity. So we know that mass is equal to weight over gravity. So the kinetic energy is also equal to, if you're going to consider weight to be 1, so we're going to consider 1 unit weight, let's say 1 newton or 1 pound, and so on. If weight is 1, that means, so in this case, substitute natin itong mass na ito. Mass is also equal to weight over gravity. That means we have 1/2 weight over gravity times v squared. So the kinetic energy now would be reduced to, we have, if weight here is 1 pound or any unit of weight, 1 pound or 1 newton, 1 kilonewton, whatsoever. So if this is 1 or unity, then kinetic energy would reduce to v squared all over 2g. So we call this the kinetic head or the velocity head. Okay. So the unit of this would be equal to, the resulting unit would be in meters if the quantity is in meters or feet, inches, centimeter, or any linear quantity there. So we call this the kinetic head or velocity head. Now, further derivation of this is already in your modules, so maybe there are also explanations in there included. So I learned my lesson before. I will make my the lecture videos as short as I can, so that I will not be having any difficulty in uploading in YouTube. So other explanation would already be in your modules. Now, so aside from kinetic energy, we also have the elevation energy. So elevation energy is the product of, let's say, EE na lang, of weight and the elevation Z. So weight and the elevation Z. So since we are converting all forms of energy in their equivalent energy head, so, and that means you're going to consider a single unit weight, 1 pound or 1 newton. Yan. So we're going to consider W to be 1. Then the equivalent energy head or elevation head is simply equal to Z, or the elevation of the particle or the object or body we are considering. So this now would be our elevation head. So this is the elevation head. Next would be the pressure energy. Now, I think you are familiar already with pressure energy or pressure head, since we have discussed this before in hydraulics 1. So pressure energy let's say PE na lang, is equal to the product of weight times P, the pressure, over the unit weight. Now, if we're going to consider weight to be 1 unit, then the pressure energy is reduced to P over gamma. So we call this the pressure head. And a different derivation or concept of derivation was already discussed before in hydraulics 1. So the pressure head, this is the pressure head, ang tawag natin dyan. So these are the different heads which will be included in the energy equation later on. So please memorize the equivalent heads for each form of energy. So basically, when fluid or liquid is moving, of course, it has a velocity. So automatic meron yang kinetic energy. Now, elevation energy naman. So one way to make the fluid or liquid flow is to elevate it, no? If you are going to consider yung mga elevated tanks natin, if you have elevated tanks at your homes or in your community, the reason why we are elevating it is for the liquid to flow dun sa mga houses, if it's for domestic use or for irrigation. No, that's same reason also. That's why we are constructing dams across a river or a stream to elevate the water, no? So pag mas mataas yung elevation ng tubig, that means pwede siyang mag-flow. So of course, that should be higher the than the farmlands. Ano? Yung elevation ng tubig should be higher than the farmlands para mag-move yung water sa mga channels or sa mga irrigation canals. So one way of course to make the liquid flow is to elevate it. Another way to make the liquid flow is to pressurize it. How do you pressurize liquid? We pressurize liquids using pumps. Pwedeng electric pump, pwedeng yung mga ginagamit sa mga bukid, no? I don't know what kind of pump those. Maybe some of you have electric pumps, pressure pumps in your houses, respective houses. So one way, of course, to make the fluid in motion or flow is to pressurize it. No. So if pag gusto mong mag-flow, ayaw mong gumawa ng elevated tank, gusto mo sa baba na lang yung tanke, so you need to pressurize the tank using pumps para mag-flow siya from a lower elevation to a higher elevation. We have a visitor. Ay, so that was a brief interruption. So in the analysis of flow of liquids or fluids, we will be applying these three forms of energy. So for a flowing liquid in a certain conduit, for example, we have a pipe here and a certain liquid flows through it. So if you cut, if nag-cut tayo ng section dyan, and if you want to know the energy there at that section, the total energy in that section then is equal to the sum of the three forms of energy, which is equal to the kinetic energy plus the elevation energy plus the pressure energy. Ayan. Or if we expand that in terms of energy heads, it's equal to V squared all over 2G plus Z plus pressure head is equal to P over gamma, or what is in your module I think would be it's equal to V squared all over 2G plus P over gamma plus the elevation energy. So the total energy, energy at that particular section then is equal to the sum of the kinetic energy, the pressure energy, and the elevation energy. So that ends the part 1 of our discussion. I will record this per part na lang because it would be difficult for me to upload a very lengthy video in YouTube. So we will discussions would be divided into parts na lang. So that ends the part 1. Part 2 will follow later on. So thank you very much.